Happy New Year! It is 2025, and everybody who is, you know, made it throughout 2024, I hope you're gonna have a good 2025. I got my tea mug. Uh, in this video, I want to share how my experience with being Airbnb host has been and is. And maybe this is good for anybody who is thinking about making some extra income on renting out rooms. And obviously, this is going to depend on where in the world you are and if it's like permitted in your city to actually rent out rooms or entire apartments or houses. But I think, for example, if you're renting out room in your own apartment or in your own house and you still not renting out entire property, it probably is okay in many places on the planet. But number one is look up to ensure that it is allowed to rent out in secondhand, especially if it's a place that you're renting yourself, that if you can rent out in secondhand. But if you are owner of your place or if it's like in your possession, then I think you are good to go. So I've been Airbnb around the planet. I feel like I stayed in some Airbnb in Dubai. I also tried couch surfing when I was like 18, 19 years old, and I went to Dubai. And from that experience, I kind of learned the benefits of actually renting out bed space or rooms to tourists, because it's a good income, passive almost income stream, as long as you got the space to do it, you know. So when I came to Sweden, I got this old house, and I basically started kind of quickly doing Airbnb. And I only did Airbnb in the room that I'm actually seated in. And I might kind of show you around here a bit and kind of give you ideas of what is good things to actually have in the Airbnb room. Now, pricing kind of depends on what you are renting out and what area you are in, and kind of what type of tourists are coming to your area. For example, the tourists and people who are coming to my area in Sweden, they have to drive by car themselves. So either it's their own car or they are renting a car. And because of this type of situation, they basically having to spend money on their car to drive. And the distance of driving is very long in this area, regardless of where you're going. So to attract these tourists, I kind of have to keep the price on bed space and rooms very low, because I think that if I increasing the price, they will have to spend quite a lot of money in one day on like petrol, on maybe car rental, on food, on activities, plus accommodation at night. And a lot of the tourists who coming to my place, and they are only coming to sleep very late in the evening. So because of this reason, I have to kind of adjust the price to the fact that not everybody will be kind of spending the day here or even cooking food or even using the bathroom that much. They are basically only crashing in the bed when they're coming. So I adjusted the price according to this condition. Typically, I have had the kind of reservations with typically 2 people and sometimes with a pet. And to accommodate pets in your Airbnb is actually something good, because now I wouldn't take all kinds of pets into Airbnb. But typically the Airbnb guests who coming, they will say if they have a pet that they want to bring. And I have been agreeing on everybody who have had a pet. I never had a kid coming to stay in the Airbnb. It's typically only adults. And I would say I only one time had a reservation with um, like younger, under 18 years old. And I think anytime if you, for example, if you're living in a kind of very busy area, like a party district or something, maybe you will get requests by guests who are underage, and such guests I would not always accept unless I have spoken with their parents, because you don't know who these kids are and how they are behaving, and if there is a problem you need to speak to their parents. So tip is always, if you have underage people coming to stay alone without parent, always make sure that you throughout Airbnb are in contact with their parents, you know. And same thing with those who coming with pets. I will ask them like what kind of pet it is, how old the maybe pet is, just to have an idea if it's like a puppy or a dog. Maybe it's not optimal because it might ruin some rugs and stuff. So I typically, if it's like a puppy, I would not accept in the Airbnb because I know that the puppy might do something with the rugs and stuff. So, but otherwise, it has all been working very well. And typically, the Airbnb guests will give some descriptions about what they are traveling for or where they are going and when they need to stay, and you know, a little bit about them, their trip itself. And that can be good information because you can, if you're smart, kind of get to know your customer and kind of ask them a little bit about where they're going. Is it like a sport trip? Is it like a art kind of trip? Is it like a relaxed holiday? Is it like what kind? Is it their birthday? And depending on what they're going for, you can sell something else that adds value to them. So, for example, if it is their birthday, maybe you can get them a birthday cake or some small, maybe a small piece of chocolate on their in their room, just to have something extra. Or if they are very sportsy people and they coming to stay for like 2 nights, maybe get them some ski equipment that you can offer, maybe for, you know, for money. Uh, or if they want to do some other activity. It really depends on where you are. Or if they need, for example, a guided tour of your city, they're like really looking to go to see the city, maybe you can offer a guided tour or connect them to somebody who can do. Or if they're looking, I even have some Airbnb guests looking for real estate in my area. And those people, I kind of was able to also kind of sell, you know, sell the whole area to them. So, I mean, it depends on what they are after, but I would suggest get to know your Airbnb guest in terms of what they value, you know, so that you can add more value and sell maybe even more to them. I, for example, had one guest who had a tight budget and wasn't able to come in the winter time because you need to have like a car or rent a car and it's very costly. So when I shared information on what they could do in the winter time and how to transport and transfer, and I got to know from this guest that they are unable to do that because their budget is restricted. So then instead of you say, okay, bye, that's like not, don't do it. Instead, I said that, well, maybe if you are looking for a budget trip, I suggest that you come here in the summertime because then you can go bicycle and it's a lot less expensive than rent a car. And you can like bicycle to all these places you want to go and see. And you can even maybe have a tent and stay a few nights in a tent. But I mean, don't just close the door to the customer because you don't know if you can sell the same or like say sell other experiences to them than only this specific stay. So yeah, so this guest said that they will stay in touch with me because they might come here in the summertime instead, for example. And I have had guests coming in the winter, and then I also been able to kind of give them information about the summertime because a lot of people who come into my area, they are not aware of the summertime or what benefits there are to visit here in the summertime. So I've been able to kind of give a little bit information when I see that, okay, this person is very mobile, kind of, flexible with the location where they're staying, wanting to go explore or adventures, and I can sell another trip for them, so I can have them maybe come again because the summertime offers other experiences for them. And I always keep my Airbnb contacts professional, and I think this is something I recommend for you as well to do. Don't try and do any kind of romantic idea about your guest. That's absolutely forbidden, I would say. You have to be, as an Airbnb host, you have to be professional. And also, very, very important, when they forget something at your place, always make sure that you, who are the host, checking the place where your guests have been staying and seeing if there is something they have forgotten. And as soon as you found anything they have forgotten, contact them directly and say that, I think I found your item. And if you have, for example, I had an experience that I had like 2 different guest reservations staying after each other. And for some reason, I found like some kind of lamp thing. It was like at the behind this one, the shelving. And I sent to the first guest that I thought that was the last guest. And I asked, did you forget a lamp here? And I could send them like a photo of the lamp. And they said like, no, it's not mine. And honestly, they could have said like, yes, it is mine, but it's maybe not their thing. So I think then I contacted the other guest who was previous and I asked the same question and they said, yes, this is my thing. And I asked, do you want it back? Should I post it to you or what should I do? And they said like, no, you can give it away to somebody who needs it. But I think if, for example, I also had another guest who forgot their shoes in the house, and as soon as I saw them, I called them because they were gonna drive very far, and they came back and picked them up. So if you are unsure which guest who forgot their stuff, maybe don't just ask, did you forget the lamp, but ask like, I think I found a lost item, and are you missing something? Like try and be more unspecified because, or maybe ask if it's like a lamp that you found. Maybe only say that I found a lamp. Are you missing a lamp? Can you give some details of what it looked like? Because you need to ensure that it really is the guest that you asking if it is their thing and not somebody else, if you have a lot of reservations. I also try, and because I'm responsible for the cleaning process, and I think if you are Airbnb host, you must make sure that it is you and not the guest who is responsible for the cleaning process, because I stayed in some kind of, accommodation, It's like almost like a hostel, but you have your own room, and there you have to clean the room yourself as a guest. But let's just be honest, not every single guest is a cleaning pro and cares about if they're cleaning every corner or underneath the bed or behind something. And you never know what gets like, for example, chips, crisps, food can like fall behind the bed, and I found food underneath the bed a few times. And imagine if you have your guest doing the cleaning of the place itself, and they don't even clean away that food underneath the bed, and then a few weeks later you will have some infection of like some bugs or something eating on that. So don't do don't do that, because that can really cause problems. I also, anytime I have a guest and they check out, I like to inspect the room to see if there's something forgotten is the first thing, but also make sure that um, everything is still in the room that I have, my belongings, and make sure that there are no bugs or something. And typically, I think I'm gonna give you a tour of, because I have two rooms that I doing for Airbnb, and I think I will give you a tour of the room that I'm in so that you can have an idea of what is good to kind of add into the room itself. What are the things you need to start Airbnb? I know that there are other ways of renting out rooms and stuff, and you can use booking.com, but why I like Airbnb is because I am the one who can like agree to that person who wants to make the reservation, because I was for a while also doing booking.com, and I had guests just doing the reservation and arriving and I was not able to choose who is the guest. And this is actually, I noticed that it didn't work to do the booking.com because they have very high fees. That's also a minus. But because some guests just made the reservation, they don't adding their information that much in the system on booking.com. So you can get any guest, maybe even some criminal. That's not really optimal. And also some guests, they were more thinking that it's a hotel, and it's not really a hotel. So they had some unexpected expectations on what they were after. And after that, I was just like, I'm gonna stick to Airbnb, because people who booking on Airbnb, they kind of know the concept of it, and you can have a little bit more conversation with the guest, making sure that you two parts are on the clear about, what it is they are booking and paying for. And I think that is better. uh, Also, for me, I personally, anytime if you're staying in a room, you want to have kitchen. I don't really like that my guest would be sitting inside the room and eating the food and like having some small kitchen because when I go travel myself, if I'm in a hotel room, I will use the hotel room as a kitchen. And I don't really want my guests having to do this because number one, it will potentially cause bugs in the room and potentially it's just more to clean for me. So I allow the guest to use the kitchen, and I have like a solution that I have a guest fridge. And I would not want to share fridge with any guest, just because I think it's about integrity and about food cleanliness and stuff like this. Also, I don't offer food to the guest because that's like you need to have some permission to like sell breakfast or sell food, because then you are selling a food product, or a food service. And I think that's more complex maybe in my area. So, but I did have some guests ask about breakfast service at some time. But then, because it was an Airbnb, I was more like, okay, well, if you tell me what I should buy for you, I will buy this for you. And then I will just put it in the kitchen and you can make the food yourself. But I wouldn't really offer like a breakfast buffet or something, because that's like extra work and extra permissions potentially in my area. So make sure that you look up that if you have interest in offer breakfast. But that's also like extra good. That's like a service that you potentially could offer. But if you only have a few guests, like one guest for one night, and then you have a lot of food products, then it's not really economic, you know. um, so yeah, and then also to like make sure that you have knowledge of the area that you're living in, or where your accommodation that you're gonna rent out is. Because if you, for example, have trails, hiking trails, cafes, maybe you have a gym, maybe you have a nightclub, maybe you have art gallery, maybe you have something that is worth a visit, or adding to the experience of the guest, you can like recommend them to go somewhere. Or for example, maybe I have a ski track, so I can recommend the guest that, okay, the accommodation is like this, but you also have like ski track if you're interested. So it adds something extra for the guest. But yeah, also make sure that you have light bulbs functioning. Before any guest arriving, there are some procedures that I like to do, and if I'm not here myself doing it, I will ask somebody else to do it. So check the fact all lamps in the accommodation is working, because the worst thing is if the lamp bulbs stop working. And make sure that you have extra lamp bulbs, example for the bathroom light, and that the person who is kind of managing or checking on the accommodation during your guest stay, that they are able to go and change out that light bulb if it stopped working. And also the fact that you should have like extra batteries for fire alarm, so in case they need to be changed during the stay, that it's possible to do so. And be honest with your guest, like about in your communication. Also think about their guest safety, because for you as an Airbnb host, maybe you are not so concerned about your guests' safety, but I mean, you are, but it's not like you maybe thinking as if you are the guest. But think about how the guest want to be able to kind of lock the door to their room, or store their belongings, and have that kind of safety element in their stay. Because a lot of guests first time coming somewhere, they want to feel safe, and that they are safe, so that's something important. And make sure that important information is either written somewhere when the guest is arriving, or that you're communicating it over Airbnb so they know about it. But for example, I don't put out Wi-Fi codes in the Airbnb chat. I keep such type of information in that specific accommodation. So I think I've spoken a lot about this now. Also, I like to give, last thing I would say before I show you this Airbnb accommodation is I like to give my Airbnb guest privacy. So, and this is good tip for you, don't ask too many questions from your Airbnb guest. Don't ask them about their whole life, or why they are here, or where they're going, because not everybody even knows about it themselves. So they are just booking your place, and they paying to stay there, and just give them that type of space. Also, if you have, like me, two rooms or that are in the same house close to each other, and that you're renting out them in the same time, I like to make sure that the guests, if they are booking in the same time and gonna stay at the same night, that they kind of fitting to each other, you know. For example, if it's how should I say, if it's like a allergic person and then there is a pet owner in the other room, I think that's not gonna be a good combination. Or if there is like a, you know, so I try and kind of have this in mind. But typically I feel most people get along sharing the bathroom, for example, even if they are not really somebody who would kind of interact in real life, but they can, you know, share the space, because that's what you do if you're in a workspace, if you're like in an airport, or if you're in a other kind of shared hotel where you're sharing bathroom. But I still try and have that in mind, so that I, as an Airbnb host, doesn't have to step in and become some kind of adult person and like tell them to, you know, not fight or something, you know. But it's good to have that in mind. Okay, so let me give you a little tour. So this is one of the Airbnb rooms that I have, and in this room I have basically the bed, and this is two single beds. And for every guest that are arriving, I try and figure out or ask the guest if there are two persons, if they need two single beds or if they need the beds together. And I use silk and cotton bed sheets because I think that is the best comfort in terms of bed sheets. And before I didn't put the towels on the bed, and I kept them in the shelf. And the problem I found was that the guests didn't even know where the towel was, so they were taking some towels they found in the bathroom. So now, ever since that, I just put the towels on the bed so that the guests know for sure that it is their towels to use. And I have like the towels, I have one small and one big towel. And this is just extra over the bed, because if there is no guest for a few days, I like to cover the bed sheet so there's no dust going into the bed. And I have, you know, like a fluffy pillow, and for under bed sheeting stuff, I have like this thing that really attaching around the corner, so it will not like become a problem sleeping. I like to use very warm bed blankets, but I only have 3 of those, so I don't have one extra. And then I have some kind of this is for like a holiday season, but I have some kind of art on the wall. I know my guests are often from Europe, so this one kind of reminds of Paris or something, and I think a lot of guests actually feel at home having some art pieces that kind of reminds them of where they are from, you know. I also have like a cable like this. I know it's not optimal how it's hanging, but I would suggest have some kind of extension cord and heater. If it's cold outdoor, you need to have some kind of heater. We had extra cold weather here in this area. I don't like it, but because I don't have any guests right now, I just try to block out some of the cold. I also put like this window cover, because if you have guests and they, I don't know, maybe drink something and they walk around half naked, I think it's good to put something covering at least half of the window, you know. Oh my god, did you see that it was blinking? And then I have plastic flowers, because if I have a guest staying for, let's say, like 2 nights and the heater is on, then sometimes the flowers don't last because nobody's watering them. This one is, however, real, but it doesn't look super fresh. And then I also like to have seating area. So if, as in here, there are 2 beds, I like to have 2 chairs. I have 1 and I have 2. And this one I got second hand, this one is second hand. And that is also a good tip. Have all the furnitures of the room like second hand, because if something gets ruined or somebody wants to steal something, nobody will steal if it's like old, like second hand finds. I also like to keep some decorational pillow, and in terms of decoration pillow, you need to wash the cover. So this one has easy like to wash. And I also, when I have like a chair like this, I like to put a blanket over so that I can wash the blanket for per guest staying here, or for every 2 guests staying, instead of having to try and wash this instant. Here is another plastic flower. I also like to think about that the guest should have the bedside table with a lamp, and they should have as many chairs as there are people in the room, and they should have like a little coffee table setting, and also they should have storage. So I have this shelf here for storage. Typically they don't stay for that long, so it is enough. I also like to put mugs, 2 mugs in the room, just because I don't want the guests to keep, sometimes they want to keep their coffee mug or tea mug, and it's better to have specific mugs for that, so that they can keep them in the room as their own mug during the stay, instead of trying to find something in the kitchen. And then I have an extra pillow with sheet, so if they are not comfortable with only 1 pillow, they do have 1 extra. And then I have 1 rug, and this rug, it has to be possible to clean it very easily, because if you have many guests, you need to be able to clean it. And this chair I got second hand. So this is like the little, how should I say, writing desk, like makeup, do your makeup, write, work, whatever you want. And I have this in the other room as well, something similar, that they can sit and work or do their makeup. You see, I have like a mirror. I think that's very important also in the room, that anybody who is in need of do their makeup is able to do that, instead of taking up time inside the shared bathroom. Then I have I have this in the other room. Now I put the sheet over here because I was filming here, so I needed to have other type of lamp situation. But this is like a reading lamp, and I have it in the other room. I think it's very important to have. And this is the blanket that I put over the chair, so I'm able to wash it. And then I have here, I have like Wi-Fi information there, lamp bottom. And then I have like for hanging clothes, because if I have like 4 guests and everybody has a lot of clothes, it will be full in the entrance, so it's not working. So I have a few hangers. I have that in the other room as well, and they can put their stuff there. And this is honestly a storage, but it's not for the guest. This is honestly just for the Airbnb, extra, blankets and things. I also, unless I have the central heating on in the house, I have in both rooms like an extra heater that the guests themselves can adjust. And I have extension cords too in this room. In the other room, I only have 1 extension cord. I also have some lamps that are kind of for decoration purpose. And I try otherwise to keep the decors and stuff very general. And I don't know, but for example, in here, I did not, the only thing I added was this and the lamp, but these wallpapers are from the 70s, so they are very, very old. but I felt like it was a bit too much to have it on every single wall. So on the wall where there is a window, I also suggest, if you can, to have a window in the Airbnb room, because it adds a lot of value for the guest to be able to look out. Uh, so, because for example in Dubai they have a lot of rooms and without window, and it's not so, it's kind of claustrophobic to have a room without the window, you know. But this one wall I actually kind of removed wallpaper and painted, and it wasn't perfect result, but you know, at least it's more subtle color, looks kind of ancient in some ways, but that's just to kind of give a little bit more peaceful look to the room because of this other crazy wallpaper here. But honestly, a lot of people booking this room, and I think they think it's kind of charming or something, you know. And then I just have very bland type of curtains, you know, and I have a blinder, which is important. So that's all I have. And obviously there is a, obviously I got kitchen and shared bathroom for the guests. So I feel like that kind of is giving most value in terms of that they have access to make their own breakfast or heat up some food they have with and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I shared most about this Airbnb. Maybe I will increase the price a little bit because uh, Airbnb takes out, they adding on a bit to the price that I have, and then they earning a bit from it. Plus there is a transaction cost. So I think eventually, maybe in 2025 now, I will increase the price just a little bit because I'm still under the price that the hotels in the area is offering. And I think it's good to look at what other accommodations is in your area and what kind of prices are they offering for similar accommodation. And I must say that I have the best price in my area, and I think that's also how I am able to attract customers, and they don't feel, they feel like they get something for the value for money, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to always keep it super clean everywhere because they still getting value for their money, and that's something to think about. That you, as if you were the guest, would you feel like you're getting value for the money that you're spending? And that's how you maybe also can increase um, your ratings, you know. So yeah, so if you looking for ways to maybe add some extra money into your pocket, maybe one way to do it is also to have Airbnb. So yeah,